Radhe Radhe and welcome to all of you to our Bhagavad Gita Mahayagya. We are so excited today. So many things are planned. Today first we will start with Deep Prakratya and Pujan for Shri Krishna. After that we are eagerly waiting for keynote address by Swami Mukundananda. And after the lecture we will be offering a sankalp for all the Yajman for Bhagavad Gita Mahayagya, 700 verses, chanting and translation is going to go on throughout the day. At end of the day, we will have Purnahuti, and after Purnahuti, we are also having live sharing experience by devotees on the selected inspiring verses of Bhagavad Gita. And then in the evening at 9 p.m. Central Time, we are going to have a wonderful treat for the daily wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. We are launching a beautiful series. So whole day is packed with beautiful activities. पंडित जी आइए दीप प्राकृत्य से शुरू करते हैं।
सभी को राधे राधे। श्रीमद् भगवद गीता महोत्सव जयंती की आप सभी को ढेर सारी शुभकामना। इस दिव्य महायज्ञ के अंदर 700 श्लोक का पारायण होने जा रहा है। तो इस कार्यक्रम को सुबह बहुत ही सुंदर बनाने के लिए, दीप प्रागट्य करने के लिए मैं 5 भाइयों से निवेदन करूं कि कृपया स्टेज पे पधारें और दीप प्रागट्य प्रारंभ करें। ओम चंद्रमा मनसो जात चक्षोः सूर्यो अजायत क्षोत्राद्वायुश्च प्राणश्च मुखादग्निरजायत शुभं करोतु कल्याणं आरोग्यं धनसम्पदां शत्रुबुद्धि विनाशाय दीपज्योते नमोस्तुते। ज्ञानस्वरूप दीपस्थ परमात्मने नमः। दीप प्रागट्य के बाद में भगवान कृष्ण भगवान एवं ग्रंथ भगवान कृष्ण भगवान का पूजन एवं ग्रंथ पूजन करेंगे। आइए हम लोग मिलके भगवान कृष्ण का पूजन एवं जो भगवद गीता ग्रंथ है उसका पूजन करेंगे और श्रीमद् पूज्य प्रातः स्मरणीय से गुरुदेव का भी चरण में पुष्प समर्पित करके इस कार्यक्रम को प्रारंभ करेंगे। आइए कृष्ण पूजन करते हैं। हरि ओम पवित्रेस्तो वैष्णव्यो सवितुर्वः प्रसव उद्पूनाम्य छिद्रेण पवित्रेण सूर्यस्य रश्मिभिः तस्य ते पवित्र पदे पवित्र पूतस्य जत्कामः पुणे तच्छकेयम्। ओम केशवाय नमः स्वाहा। ओम नारायणाय नमः स्वाहा। ओम माधवाय नमः स्वाहा। गोविंदाय नमः हस्तं रक्षाल्य सर्वेषां प्राणायामे विनियोगः। ओम भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ओम द्यौः शान्तिरन्तरिक्षगो शान्तिः पृथिवी शान्तिरापः शान्तिरोषधयः शान्तिः वनस्पतयः शान्तिर्पशवे देवाः शान्तिर्ब्रह्म शान्तिः सर्वज्ञो शान्तिः शान्तिरेव शान्तिः श्यामा शान्तिरेधि ॐ शान्तिः 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 श्रीमन्महागणाधिपतये नमः इष्टदेवताभ्यो नमः कुलदेवताभ्यो नमः ग्रामदेवताभ्यो नमः स्थानदेवताभ्यो नमः वाणीनगरवाभ्यं नमः लक्ष्मीनारायणाभ्यं नमः उमामहेश्वराभ्यं नमः सचिपुरन्दराभ्यं नमः एतत्कर्मप्रधानदेवताभ्यो नमो नमः श्रीकृष्णचरणकमलेभ्यो नमो नमः ध्यायामि चिन्तयामि च नमस्कारान् समर्पयामि ॐ विनायकं गुरुं बानुं ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वरान् सरस्वतीं प्रणम्यादो सर्वकार्यार्थसिद्धये चरणकमले और पुष्पाणि समर्पयामि भगवद्गीता महोत्सवांगीभूत भगवत् कृष्ण चरणारविन्दे यथाशक्ति पूजनं करिष्ये ॐ नमो स्वनन्ताय सहस्रमूर्तये सहस्रपादां शिशिरोरुबाहवे सहस्रनाम्ने पुरुषाय शाश्वते सहस्रकोटियुगधारिणे नमः भूर्भुवस्व श्रीकृष्णचरणकमलेभ्यो नमः पुष्पं समर्पयामि सद्गुरुं ध्यायेत ॐ गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः यदा यदा हि धर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवति भारत अभ्युत्थानमधर्मस्य तदात्मानं सृजाम्यहम् यत्र योगेश्वर कृष्णो यत्र पार्थो धनुर्धरः तत्र श्रीर्विजयोर्भूतिर्ध्रुवा नीतिर्मतिर्मम श्रीकृष्णचरणकमलेभ्यो नमो नमः ध्यानं समर्पयामि पुष्पं समर्पयामि ॐ पादयोः पाद्यं समर्पयामि हस्तयोः अर्घ्यं समर्पयामि अर्घ्यान्तरे आचमनीयं स्नानं समर्पयामि ॐ आपोः इष्टामयो भुवस्थानऊर्जे ददातनाः महेरणाय चक्षजेजो वः शिवतमो रथस्य बाजेते हना उषधीरिव मातरा तस्मारङ्गमामवो यक्षशयाय जिन्वध आपो जनयधा च नः तिलकं कुर्यात् ॐ कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय हरये परमात्मने प्रणतः क्लेशनाशाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् चरणकमलयोर्गन्धाक्षतपुष्पाणि च समर्पयामि ग्रन्थपूजनं शारदा शारदाम्भोज वदना वदनाम्बुजे सर्वदा सर्वदास्माकं सन्निधिं सन्निधिं क्रियात् ग्रन्थस्थ परमात्मने नमो नमः विष्णुस्वरूपाय परमात्मने नमो नमः धूपं परिकल्पयामि दीपकं संदर्शयामि ओम वनस्पतिरसुद्भूतो गन्धाढ्यो गण्ड उत्तमाग्रे यः सर्वदेवानां धूपोऽयं प्रतिगृह्यताम् ग्रंथस्थ परमात्मने नमो नमः कृष्णाय नमो नमः सद्गुरुभ्यो नमः धूपं परिकल्पयामि दीपकं संदर्शयामि च मङ्गलनीराजनं कर्पूरगौरं करुणावतारं संसारसारं भुजगेन्द्रहारं सदा वसन्तं हृदयारविन्दे भवं भवानी सहितं नमामि। मङ्गलं भगवान् विष्णुर्मङ्गलं गरुडध्वज मङ्गलं पुण्डरीकाक्षोर्मङ्गलायतनो हरिः। सर्वमङ्गलमङ्गल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थसाधिके शरण्ये त्र्यम्बके गौरी नारायणी नमोस्तुते नारायणी नमोस्तुते। अनेन यथाशक्ति लाभोपचारैः कृतपूजनाख्येन कर्मणा भगवान् विष्णुः प्रियतान्न मम। ॐ इदं विष्णुर्विजग्रमे त्रेदानि दधे पदं समूढमस्य भाग्यसुरेश्वाहा। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा जिह्वे पिबस्वा मृतमेतदेव गोविन्द दामोदर माधवेति। सकलोपचारार्थे ग्रन्थस्थ परमात्मने नमो नमः। ध्यायामि चिन्तयामि च नमस्कारान् समर्पयामि। शान्ताकारं भुजगशयनं पद्मनाभं सुरेशं विश्वाधारं गगनसदृशं मेघवर्णं शुभाङ्गं लक्ष्मीकान्तं कमलनयनं योगिविद्यानगम्यं वन्दे विष्णुं भवभयहरं सर्वलोकैकनाथं। यस्य स्मरणमात्रेण जन्मसंसारबन्धनात् विमुच्यते। नमस्तस्मै विष्णवे प्रभविष्णवे। ग्रन्थस्थ परमात्मने नमो नमः। चरणारविन्दे ध्यानार्थे स्वागतार्थे पुष्पं समर्पयामि। जाता
So, thank you for the Pujan Panditji. Now we will be starting keynote address by Swamiji all the way from Bara Ashram in Odisha, India.
Prathamam Sadgurum Vande Shri Krishnam Tadanantaram Guru Papatmanam Trata Shri Krishnastvamalātmanam Yo Brahmanam Vidadhati Purvam Yo Vai Vedanscha Prahinoti Tasmai Tagvamha Devamatma Buddhi Prakasham Mumukshur Vai Sharanamaham Prapadde. To all the wonderful devotees who have joined from around the world for participating in the Bhagavad Gita Jayanti celebrations and Mahayagya, my heartiest best wishes and greetings. I have been requested to speak on life lessons from the Bhagavad Gita. How astonishing and amazing it is that About 5,156 years have gone by since the Gita was spoken. So much has changed in 5+ millennia. The little lifespan that we have, in the space of 30, 40, 70, 80 years, we see the whole world has changed. And imagine a time span of 5,000+ years. Yet, the knowledge imparted by Lord Krishna to Arjuna on the battleground of Kurukshetra is still relevant, and people turn to it to drink deeply from the fountain of knowledge that is ever flowing from the Bhagavad Gita. The first life lesson I would like to take from it is sometimes things become difficult. The Gita opens with the confusion of Arjuna. He is in such a difficult situation where there's a battle about to begin. And he is completely confused about his duty. All of us can identify with that. There are times when darkness seems to envelop us. And when it is so difficult to determine what is right and what is wrong, and we feel we don't have the strength to fulfill the duties expected of us. That was the situation of Arjuna. And yet, the situation turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Similarly, successful people in America were interviewed, captains of the industry, and practically in every case of these super successful people, it was found that the breakthrough they accomplished was just one step away from the darkest moment in their life. So when all seems to be lost, we must turn to the Bhagavad Gita for inspiration. If we can handle this difficult situation properly, we will find it will turn to our biggest advantage, and we will discover ourselves making the biggest breakthrough in that situation. There is certain sensors in the eyes called rhopsodin. They lead to the rhopsodin effect. And what is that? When you enter a dark room, the pupils are still continuing as they were in the light. And there is not sufficient light entering for you to make out what is what. But you, rather than losing heart, just bear with that confusion for a little while. And you find that your pupils start dilating. This is the rhopsodin effect. And slowly you can make out there's a furniture I must avoid, and that is the seat where I wish to go. Similarly, we must not allow confusion to beat us down. Rather, with courage, with heroism, we must rise to the situation and discover in it the hidden opportunity to make our life a success. So, what changed in Arjuna when he was in utter confusion? Lord Krishna provided him the aha moment, the epiphanies, where he slowly discovered different perspectives. And that is what the Bhagavad Gita enables us to do. When we find there are difficulties on all sides, and when we find our mind bogged down with little problems that seem to be overbearing on us, the Bhagavad Gita tells us, look, there is a higher perspective. Rather than getting beaten down, you rise above. And from the perspective of higher knowledge, the clouds of distress will all disappear. Once, an old man came to meet me. He was a retired chief engineer of the state of Orissa. He had been married for 50 plus years. And 2 months ago, his beloved wife had passed away. And the pain of separation was too much for him to bear. He remembered all the sweet moments they had spent together. And what a wonderful, loyal, loving companion she had been all his life. All of a sudden, she was gone. There was this huge vacuum in his life, which he was unable to cope with. So that had sent him into deep depression. And in that situation, he came to me and said, Swamiji, how do I bear with this pain? I stepped back internally for a moment to think, what would be the right knowledge for this person? If I said it's the will of God, it may have led to further confusion. If I had said the world is a place of misery, it still may not have helped him. So I asked him, did your wife love you? He said, Swamiji, she loved me many times more than I loved him. I said, supposing you had left this world before her, how would she have tolerated the pain? He said, Swamiji, it would have been impossible for her to bear with it. I said, exactly that is the point. By departing before her, by your outliving her, you have saved her from the pain that you are experiencing. All of a sudden, a light went on in his head. He realized meaning and purpose in this pain, which seemed previously to be unbearable. All of a sudden, he realized it was serving a higher cause. It was saving his late wife from the pain that she would have experienced if he had departed first. He found the strength, the equanimity, the wisdom to bear with it. The expression on his face changed, and I needed not tell him anything further. He departed there finding peace after 2 agonizing months. How? He had discovered a higher purpose in his pain, in the situation he was facing. So this aha moment came through higher knowledge. That is the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita. Not to pull us down where we move from one problem to the other to the other. Sometimes people come and tell me, Swamiji, I have this problem, how to deal with it. I have this defect, how to overcome it. I say, look, there are 2 options. Either you keep struggling with your defects, or else you focus on developing your good qualities. Bring in the light of divine knowledge, and all these defects will run away. Just like when you lift a stone from the earth, the insects that were staying below, they all scatter. They can't tolerate the light of the sun. Similarly, the Bhagavad Gita is like the shining light of knowledge that provides to us the higher wisdom to enable us to handle the challenges in life. One yogi, one person living in a metropolitan city in India, in Delhi, developed detachment. And he went off to the Himalayas to practice sadhana. There he made a little hut in a hermitage and began practicing austerities there. Slowly, slowly, his spiritual power enhanced. His mind started getting focused, and he found himself oblivious of the external environment, even though it was conducive for his spiritual practice. But then things changed when the monsoon came. Along with the monsoon came the croaking of the frogs and the sounds of the crickets. So with the first heavy rain, the peace of the environment was suddenly snatched away. And this man found a whole circus on the outside, which was agitating him tremendously. Now he was trying to meditate, but his mind would repeatedly go to the frogs saying, ghar ghar, tar tar, pit pit, ghwa ghwa. Finally, he could tolerate it no longer. He put his head out of the window and shouted, "Stop!" Now this yogi had reached a certain level of attainment in his sadhana. And when he spoke, nature responded. All of a sudden, there was a hush of silence as the frogs controlled themselves. The crickets felt silent. He sat down to meditate in that calm. But then a new noise started, and this was from within him. It was the voice of his conscience, which was saying, "Did I do the right thing by silencing nature? Maybe the sounds they were making was as pleasing to God as my meditation was." Thinking in this manner, his meditation became sidelined until he could ignore his conscience no longer. And he thought, after all, just like I am striving by my higher nature to reach God, these animals are also striving, these creatures, according to their nature, the way they have been designed. So he put his head out of the window again, lifting his hand, he said, "Begin." The sounds of nature began. The frogs made merry, tar tar tar, pit pit pit, ghwa ghwa ghwa. The crickets, they started celebrating. There was pandemonium let loose. And he sat down. But this time he had found a deep peace within him. He had discovered a peace that nobody could snatch away from him. So the Bhagavad Gita informs us that difficulties are a part of life. Nobody can avoid them, just as the day is followed by the night and the night is followed by the day. Similarly, the summer comes, creating inconvenience, and so does the winter. Nobody living in this material realm should expect to be free from hardships and challenges. Then we must learn that no matter what the arduous situation outside, we are always free to choose our response to it. So the problem is, in life, we don't respond, we react. And when we react, we become like the slot machine in the casinos, where anybody can set us into motion. Similarly, any disturbance on the outside creates emotions within ourselves. The Bhagavad Gita instructs us to change that paradigm, to take charge of ourselves, and rather than reacting to external circumstances, to choose the best responses possible. And how will that happen? We will need divine knowledge. Knowledge that will create in us the aha moment. Ah. And the most wonderful source of that knowledge is the Bhagavad Gita, which is also called the Gita-Upanishad. It is given the respect of the Upanishads. Why so? The Upanishads are apaurushaya. They were not created by a human. They were emanated by God. Well, the Bhagavad Gita is also not the creation of a human. Ved Vyas may have put it down in writing. Sanjay may have related to Dhritarashtra what he saw from far on the battleground of Kurukshetra. But none of them can claim authorship of the Gita. The speaker of the Gita is God himself. And hence, just like the Vedas are called Vinirgat, those scriptures that nobody created and yet they exist, the Bhagavad Gita is accorded the same status. It is the song of God himself. So in the Bhagavad Gita is the perfect knowledge that we can turn to. But that will only happen when we accept the humble position. As long as we have this conceit that my intellect is so sharp, I can understand, I will analyze, we are blocked off from higher knowledge and limited by the constraints of our finite buddhi. So Arjuna was forced out of that situation because the confusion was so much. He realized his resources, spiritual resources, his wisdom was not up to the job required before him. And that is why in humbleness he turned to Lord Krishna. Karpanya dosho pahata svabhava prichhami tvam dharma sammudha cheta yachreyasyan nishchitam bruhi tanme shishyasteham shadhimam tvam prapannam. He said, O Sri Krishna, the Gandhi is slipping out of my hand. My mouth has dried up. My knees are trembling and my stomach is aching. The situation has so confounded me, I see no hope, no recourse except for you. Arjuna was forced in that situation to surrender to the higher power. And the consequence was he received knowledge from Jagat Guru Sri Krishna. Sometimes it is necessary in life for the pot of misery to become too big. And only then are we forced to take the step of surrender that Arjuna did. But a more intelligent and less painful way is to realize the limits of our intellect. How tiny they are. Our intellect made from Maya cannot fathom all the secrets of the divine realm, and that is that understanding and realization makes us surrender to the higher source of divine knowledge. Arjuna was fortunate. God was before him as the Guru. He could directly accept Lord Krishna as the Guru. Now for us, that opportunity does not exist. So Lord Krishna himself in the Gita has instructed, Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadeksyanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. Arjuna, you approached a seer, a self-realized sage who has seen the truth and can impart its knowledge to you. So for us to receive that divine knowledge, which will help lift us above all these mundane little problems of everyday life, we need the scripture, which is the Bhagavad Gita, and the saint, the Guru, who can explain that transcendental knowledge to us at our level. In the Gita, the first piece of knowledge that Lord Krishna gives to Arjuna is knowledge of the self. He explains that Arjuna, remember, nobody is born and nobody dies. You are lamenting that they will die. There is no death for the soul, for there is no birth for the soul either. This soul is so miraculous, so amazing. It is the real you. If we can have faith that we are not these bodies made of matter, that we are this divine spark, we will find such tremendous strength, such tremendous self-confidence. The reason we lack it now is we identify the self with the body. Jagat Guru Sri Kripaluji Maharaj used to say, all these hurts you feel when others say things to you is all because you are thinking you are this material personality. The day you realize you are not the body, you are not the mind, you are not the intellect, you are the divine soul, that day nobody's statements will make any difference to you. So this real I, the soul, one professor came to his college class and he lifted $100 bill to show to everyone. The students were wondering, what is the professor's intent today? The professor said, supposing I was willing to give it out, how many of you would be interested in taking it from me? Can you please lift your hands? Practically every student lifted his or her hands. When you're getting $100 for no reason at all, why not take it? The professor then folded it and refolded it and refolded it and again folded it. And then asked the students who had raised their hands, would you still be interested in this? They all said, of course, so what if it is folded? The professor said, all right. He threw it on the ground. And he put his foot on it. And then he asked them that, would you still be interested in this note? They said, of course. He said, look, I am getting my voice. Something has changed in the last 1 minute. So the professor said that I mutilated this note to such an extent, and yet your interest in it remains the same. The value of the note was intrinsic to it, and it did not matter whether I put my foot in it or not. Similarly, if your self-esteem is determined by the views of others, by the praise of others, then it will be subjected to increasing and decreasing. Others will be able to create disturbance within you. But the Bhagavad Gita tells us that like that $100 bill, you, the soul, are beyond the body. You are a part of God Himself. That soul cannot be dried by the wind. It cannot be burnt by fire. It cannot be cut by weapons. That amazing soul is the real you. Now, somebody may say, if I am the soul, then why am I suffering in this world? So the problem is, we have forgotten our true identity. Kshetra kshetragyayor jnanam. True knowledge begins at this point, to understand the difference between the field of activities, which is the body, and the knower of the field, which is the soul. So the soul has forgotten its real identity and is now identifying itself with the body. This has made it vulnerable to 3 problems. And these problems are identified by Krishna as gateways to hell. So the do's and don'ts of the Bhagavad Gita manual for life, it talks about the don'ts. Remember, Arjuna, these 3 gateways to hell. And check yourself right in the beginning. What are these gateways? Trividham narakasyedam dwaram nashanam kama krodhas tatha lobhas tasmadetatrayam tyajet. The first is lust. The second is anger. And the third is greed. So keep these in check, Arjuna. Remember, these senses are so turbulent. They can drive away a person of discrimination. If you focus on any one of your senses, it has the ability to completely lead you astray. So do not underestimate the power of desires. These desires are the biggest cheaters. We create desires in the hope that they will give us happiness. But the chasing for happiness is like the wild goose chase without end. The more you fulfill them, the more they increase. So all of this begins with contemplation. When we start contemplating happiness somewhere, it leads to the mind becoming attached. And from attachment comes desire. And the fulfillment of that desire leads to greed. The unfulfillment leads to anger. So Arjuna, if you wish to avoid this problem, you will need to take recourse to Buddhi Yoga. What is this Buddhi Yoga? Empower your intellect with divine knowledge. Don't let the mind rule you. Don't let the senses sway you. These senses and the mind are cheaters. So keep them in check by the power of the intellect. You strengthen your intellect with divine knowledge, and with that empowered intellect, control the mind and the senses. Initially, Arjuna, it will be difficult. Arjuna says, Maharaj, difficult, it seems like it's more difficult than controlling the wind. Lord Krishna says, Arjuna, there is no option. If you give up, what will be the consequence? You will keep rotating in the cycle of life and death. So if you are fed up, if you say, okay, I have understood the happiness I want is not in the worldly things, then no matter how difficult it is, you force yourself in that direction. So remember, Arjuna, everything in this world is changing. Look on this world like a bridge. When you cross a bridge, you don't build a house on it. You cross over. Similarly, this world is a bridge. Your goal is my divine abode. That is your real house. And this is the preparation place. So don't take life too seriously. You will not get out of here alive. Take it lightly. Difficulties will come and pleasures will come. Success will come. Failure will come. The sign of an enlightened person is one who can take all this in his or her stride without letting the inner compass change. So enlightened people also face difficulties and hardships. Nobody who comes here will be free of them. Yet they take them in their stride. The sign of progress then is not that everything around you is positive. The true sign of progress and enlightenment is there is a reason to be proud, but you are still humble. There is a reason to have desire, and yet you do not. There's a reason to be attached, and yet you are detached. There's reason to be envious, to be hateful, to be resentful, and yet you are free from it all. That is the goal that we need to strive for. This is such a wonderful, important message out here. So, the Bhagavad Gita is teaching us that the world will remain the same. And yet, within this world, you can find great peace and perfection. Interestingly, the Gita is spoken in the worst kind of material situation. The world is today disturbed by the pandemic, but far more full of turmoil than a pandemic is a battleground. And that is where Arjuna finds himself. And Lord Krishna doesn't say, Arjuna, you run away from here, you will find peace. Lord Krishna says, Arjuna, stay put where you are and change your inside to find peace. Yogina karma kurvanti sangam tyaktvatma shuddhaye. The true yogi, I will consider that person who is doing works. The person may be a king, maybe a CEO, maybe a family person, and is doing the duties incumbent upon him, and yet remains detached. So the Bhagavad Gita tells us, you do not need to renounce the externals to attain enlightenment. A sage of knowledge sees work in renunciation and renunciation in work. One who can see this truly sees. Here is a person who seems to be renounced and yet is attached. And here is a person who is in the world, who is doing all the worldly things and yet is internally detached. That is why the Bhagavad Gita, before hearing the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna was a warrior. After hearing the Gita, he is still a warrior. And what has changed? The only change is from inside. That inner change is what the Gita is inspiring us to accomplish. And it introduces us to the concept of yajna. So the Gita says, your works may become difficult. Your job may be strenuous and hard. However, no matter how inconvenient your job becomes, carry on with it. Great kings like Janak, they were also doing their worldly duties. Everybody is obliged to do their duties. And it is in doing these duties that we perform yajna. Yajna or sacrifice is not merely done with clarified butter, giving oblations in fires. When we do the duties that have been put upon us, no matter how inconvenient they are, we are performing yajna. That yajna is pleasing to the Lord, and it is through this yajna that rain falls, which creates grain from the earth, which we all eat for our sustenance. So in no situation must we renounce our yajna-like duties, but we can make these very duties as puja, as worship, when we start offering them to the Lord. So we do not just worship the Lord when we go to the temple, but we can worship him through every action that we perform. Yat karoshi yad ashnasi yad juhosi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. To do that, whatever you are doing, start doing it in divine consciousness. And when we start offering these works to the Lord, we will realize the fruits are not for us, they are for His pleasure. That will enable us to detach ourselves from the fruits of our works. That detachment will cleanse our antahkaran, the heart, the mind. So, in order to become such a karma yogi, we must strive to attach our mind to God. The means for attaching the mind, one powerful way is meditation. Lord Krishna has emphasized and he has gone into the details of meditation. But somebody may ask that should we meditate on the personal form or the formless aspect? The Lord Krishna makes it very clear. Kleshodhikatarastesham avyaktasakta chetasam. Arjun, God is both. But to meditate on the formless is very difficult. And to meditate on the personal form is easy. So we must strive to meditate. This will again require repeated practice. But if we persist, slowly the mind will start getting attached to the Lord. And that attachment of the mind in God will endow us with tremendous benefits. The first benefit is the mind will become purified in contact with the all-pure. The second benefit is our works will be done in divine consciousness as a service to Him. The third benefit is the way we look at others will change. We'll see them all as ourselves. And that is the sign of knowledge, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, one who sees everyone as his own self. But slowly we will start seeing God in every aspect of creation. We will realize this creation is not different from Him, and His divinity is manifesting in every atom. So the miracle of the divine is everywhere. It is our own impurity that is preventing us from seeing it. When we realize the connection of everything to the one Lord Krishna, to the one source of it all, then Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate. We will, in that knowledge, we will then surrender to Him. Lord Krishna says, Arjun, to do your worldly duties is dharma. Do it as an offering to the Lord is karma yoga. But He ends by saying, throw it all away and just surrender to me. Which means in every thought, word and deed have one intention. I am the servant of the Lord. I wish to please Him. Arjun sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. This is the highest dharma. But Arjun, don't share this knowledge with everybody indiscriminately. They will misunderstand. Only when people are eligible and qualified, you let them know that the highest dharma is love for God. Until then, let them be karma yogis in this world. Let them do their duties to the best of their abilities as a yajna, as a sacrifice in divine consciousness offered to the Lord. By tasting the remnants of yajna, your heart will be purified. The devatas will be satiated. It will be all auspicious for the entire world. Now, the Bhagavad Gita, I have been studying it for 50 years, and I think 50 lifetimes are not enough to go to the depth of it. Every time you read it, you get a new realization. Because it is not material knowledge, it is divine knowledge. So there is no end to it. When we read it from one state of spiritual attainment, we could understand so much. The next time our attainment was higher, our understanding of what we got from the Gita also went higher. That is the divine Bhagavad Gita. What we can do is to decorate our bhav towards it. When you read the Gita, keep this knowledge in your intellect. I am blessed to be receiving these words from the mouth of Lord Krishna, explained to me by the saints and the Guru. Feel the gratitude. You will get so much more from that Gita. Or take yourself to Kurukshetra. You have your own Kurukshetras in your life. And visualize Lord Krishna speaking to Arjuna there. And pray to him, my Lord, I do not have the wisdom to make my life a success the way you want. But you are an ocean of knowledge and an ocean of kindness. You please bestow that knowledge upon me. So this Bhagavad Gita is like that vast, endless ocean that there's no question of doing justice to it in a few minutes. Nevertheless, we can just churn it to extract some nectar and relish it, to enhance our appetite for relishing more in future when the opportunities present themselves. Once again, I would like to express my heartfelt greetings, my best wishes to everyone as we all gather online to celebrate the Bhagavad Gita Jayanti in this festival, the Mahayagya, organized by J.K. Yog, being broadcast to you all from the Radha Krishna Temple of Dallas. I do like to express my appreciation to all who are participating in this most auspicious event, which is an indication of their nishtha, their faith towards the Bhagavad Gita. That one tick, one point, your faith in the Gita will ensure you receive divine knowledge, the wisdom, which will help you when you are bogged with problems to rise above them and develop the aha moment. Never fear when the Bhagavad Gita is here. Thank you very much.
Radhe Radhe, Swamiji. What a beautiful lecture. Words cannot express our gratitude. So much filled with wisdom and gems that we can implement and take away today. Thank you so much for a wonderful keynote speech. And I know you are extremely busy. Our heartfelt gratitude for making time for this. Now we will be offering Sankalp for the devotees who have become Yajman for this Mahayagya, which is about to start. We will be having 700 verses chanting and translation, chapter by chapter. We will continue entire day. You can watch and participate from your home on radhakrishnatemple.net website. We have a portal set up there, and for any opportunities for seva, you can check out the portal. Also, Panditji did the puja of 21 Bhagavad Gitas or 11 Bhagavad Gitas, which are all set up here in Mahayagya. So all these Bhagavad Gita books will be given away in the raffle today. We will be doing the drawing. So throughout the day, you can sign up to participate, to receive the blessed Bhagavad Gita book, which has been set up today and done the pujan with. So Pandit ji यजमान का संकल्प ऑफर करते हैं.
ओम विष्णवे नमः, ओम विष्णवे नमः, ओम विष्णवे नमः. ओम तिथिर्विष्णु तदावारो नक्षत्रं विष्णुरेव जः. योगश्च करणं चैव सर्वं विष्णुमयं जगत्. ओम विष्णोर्विष्णोर्विष्णुः श्रीमद्भगवतो महापुरुषस्य विष्णुराज्ञया प्रवर्तमानस्य अद्य ब्रह्मणो द्वितीये परार्धे श्वेतवाराह कल्पे कलियुगे कलिप्रथमजने भ्रुलोके इंद्रखंडे अमेरिका देशे ऐलान मध्ये राधा कृष्ण मंदिरे भगवतः सानिध्ये मासोत्तम मासे पुण्यपवित्रे मासानां मासे मार्गशीर्ष मासे शुक्ले पक्षे दशम्यां परम एकादश्यां द्विधोवासरान्वितायां ग्रह गुणगण विशेषेण विशिष्टायां शुभ पुण्यतिथौ नाम गोत्रः.
So इस यज्ञ के ग्रांड स्पॉन्सर्स है मीनू तारानंदा and family with Pooja and Nikhil Shetty, Vrinda Das and family, Mukhya Yajman Atul Patel and family, और महाप्रसाद के स्पॉन्सर्स है हार्दिक पंड्या एंड फैमिली, चैप्टर वाइज स्पॉन्सर्स हरीश कुमार एंड फैमिली, ह्यूस्टन डिवोटीज, निश्चल एंड प्रीति मल्होत्रा, कामिनी एंड विशाल खोखा, केट ईगल्टन, निमांशु पारेख एंड फैमिली. इसके बाद शाम को पूर्णाहुति होगी, तो पूर्णाहुति के यजमान शाम को हम पूजा ऑफर करेंगे. सो दिस आर द यजमान फॉर महायज्ञ. एंड इफ यू विश टू साइन अप फॉर द चैप्टर वाइज ऑफरिंग और एनी अदर सेवास, यू कैन डू दैट ऑन आवर पोर्टल.
पूर्वोक्त संकल्प यजमानानां कल्याणार्थे मम यजमानस्य आत्मना श्रुति श्रुति पुराणोक्त पुण्यफल प्राप्त्यर्थं सप्तशते पाठस्य संपूर्ण श्रीमद्भगवद गीतायाः पाठपारायणस्य 18 अध्यायस्य संपूर्ण फल प्राप्त्यर्थं दिव्य ज्ञान प्राप्त्यर्थं यथाशक्ते भगवच्चरणारविन्दे संकल्पं समर्पणं च करिष्ये. कृष्ण कन्हैया लाल की जय. ओम केशवाय नमः, ओम नारायणाय नमः, ओम माधवाय नमः, ओम मधुसूदनाय नमः, ओम त्रिविक्रमाय नमः, वामनाय नमः, ओम श्रीधराय नमः, ऋषिकेशाय नमः, पद्मनाभाय नमः, दामोदराय नमः, संकर्षणाय नमः, वासुदेवाय नमः, प्रद्युम्नाय नमः, अनिरुद्धाय नमः, पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः, अदोक्षजाय नमः, नारसिंहाय नमः, उपेन्द्राय नमः, हरये नमः, श्री कृष्ण परमात्मने नमः. चरणारविन्दे यथाशक्ति लाभोपचारे पूजन प्रियतः नमः. बोलो श्री कृष्ण कन्हैया लाल की जय. भगवद गीता महोत्सव की जय. कहा जाता है गीतायाः पुस्तकं यत्र यत्र पाठः प्रवर्तते तत्र सर्वाणि तीर्थानि प्रयागानि तत्रैव. कहा जाता है कि गीता जी का पुस्तक का पठन पाठन होता है, यहाँ गीता जी का सिर्फ ग्रंथ घर में रहता है तो वहाँ प्रयाग आदि इत्यादि जो भी तीर्थ हैं वो भी वहाँ आ जाते हैं। और गोपाला गोपिका वापी नारदो द्रुत पार्षदे सर्वे देवाश्च ऋषयो योगिनः पन्नगाश्च वे सहायो जायते शीघ्रम यत्र गीता प्रवर्तते। जहाँ गीता जी का पाठ होता है या जहाँ गीता जी रहती हैं वहाँ सर्वदेवों ऋषियों योगियों और नाग और गोपगण गोपिका नारद उद्धव और सर्व पार्षद वहाँ जल्दी सहायक आ जाते हैं। गीता यत्र गीता विचारश्च पठनम पाठनम श्रुतम तत्र हम निश्चितम पृथ्वी निवसामी सदैव ही। कहा जाता है कि गीता जी का पढ़ना और पढ़ाना जहाँ होता है वहाँ या श्रवण किया जाता है तो वहाँ भगवान कृष्ण भगवान स्वयं पृथ्वी माता को कहते हैं कि हे पृथ्वी मैं अवश्य वहाँ सदाई वसता हूँ। गीतायोश्चम निश्चिताष्टामी गीतायाम चोत्तमम गृहम गीता ज्ञानम उपाश्रित्यम त्रिलोक्यान पालयाम्यहम। जहाँ गीता जी का आश्रय लेकर मैं तीनों लोकों का पालन करता हूँ और गीता को माध्यम रखते हुए। तो आइए ऐसे श्रीमद् भगवत गीता का यहाँ पारायण होने जा रहा है और तो हम लोग मिलके सब लोग इस भगवत गीता का 18 अध्याय जो है उसका पारायण श्रवण करें। उसका बहुत ही पुण्य प्राप्त होता है। तो शंखनाद के साथ में हम लोग श्रीमद् भगवत गीता जयंती महोत्सव मनाएंगे और चैप्टर का पारायण कराएंगे। आइए श्रीमद् भगवद गीता का पारायण करते हैं।
Radhe Radhe and welcome to the Gita Jayanti event at the Radha Krishna temple in Allen. We are tremendously grateful to all the yajmans of this program, and if you feel inspired to do any seva, please visit radhakrishnatemple.net. Please refresh your screens so you can continue your participation into the next session. Radhe Radhe.